Hello YouTubers, this is Gold Standard Z0924 coming at you with another video. So, yeah, basically up the title of the screen, this is just basically going to be a special TV vlog edition. So, I've been discussing about a lot of wrestling related topics for the past 2 months. So, I just figured I'd kind of take a break from discussing about pro wrestling and just basically discuss about other TV shows, hence the title of the video. So, yeah, so this is just going to be a variety of TV shows I'll be discussing for in this video. And, so I'm not sure how long this video is going to be, but, just sit back, browse the internet, grab some snacks. So, yeah, so I'm going to be discussing about, the Power Rangers movie, Girl Meets World, and, maybe some primetime TV shows, maybe one or two of them, but we'll just see where it goes from here. So, an introduction aside, I'm just gonna get started right now. So, apparently, in recent news, Lionsgate and Saban Brands have agreed to negotiate to make a possible third theatrical Power Rangers movie. And, my thoughts on that. Yeah, this is a pretty somewhat shocking news. Apparently, it's not going to be a TV movie. This is actually going to be a possibility of them being released in theaters. And there's also speculation that there will be a reboot of the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So yeah, something that a lot of Power Rangers fans have been thinking about over the years. A lot of people have discussed about, what if Power Rangers was going to be released in the movie again, and if there was going to be like a reboot of the original Power Rangers, it's like, who would you cast? Because I mean, I've read a couple blog entries, and this is definitely one of those news, that should. It's very interesting, but at the same time, it's like, because it's Power Rangers. I mean, it's not really known for its adequate storytelling. It's not known for having that sort of cult fandom like the DC, the Marvel fandom have. And with DC and Marvel, cranking up a lot of movies every year, it's superhero movies are definitely the thing. There's no denying. I mean, if you look at, the numbers from, with the recent Batman movie trilogy, and the Amazing Spider-Man, even some of the recent Godzilla movie that just came out recently. If you just look by this, the numbers and statistics, I mean, it's like it's going to be definitely a very challenging obstacle for Power Rangers to endure. But that's if the movie makes it into production. So it's apparently Saban and Lionsgate have reached a negotiation, but the production has not started. This is just something to really discuss about, the possibility of a movie. So far, there's no release dates. Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where it's just like, I mean, reboots, remakes, it's basically a common thing that you would see, especially if you go out to the movies and you watch a lot of these trailers and, some of these commercial spots. Yeah, so there's always going to be like 9 times out of 10 a movie that will be released is actually a remake of a movie that was made like 15, 20 years ago. So, I mean, it doesn't come off as any surprise. But, I think with the Power Rangers movie, I think it's one of the few franchise movies that I think deserves a bit of reboot. Because if you look back at like the first Power Rangers movie that came out in like 1995, yeah, so you could really tell, some of the features of the movie haven't really aged very well. The use of CGI, which was very new at the time. So I mean, if you look back at it now, it just looks very silly. Um, and even some of the fashion that they had, and the storytelling. Um, so I mean, I definitely think out of all the movies that have to be rebooted, I'll say Power Rangers is probably one of the very few that I think deserves a reboot. I can understand a lot of people are against the ideas of the reboot and the remaking a movie that was so iconic, and they're and then you have these hardcore diehard fans that are coming on the boards and like, oh my god, they're gonna remake this film, oh my god, it's not gonna be the same as what it was 20 years ago. They say that sort of stuff. And I can understand where they're coming from. But I think with this movie, I mean, this could be an opportunity for them to either make it or break it. So like, if the movie comes out to theaters and it turns out to be an overnight success, then it might change the reception or the reputation that the Power Rangers franchise has, because you can't really expect like the act like an Oscar winning acting or anything like that. Just the overall story of 5 heroes wearing multicolored spandex suits saving the world, and people think like, wow, that we're supposed to take this shit seriously. I ain't buying that. But contrary to popular belief, just hope that the target audience caters to not only the children that didn't grow up with the original series, but also the teens, the young adults, and people that grew up with Mighty Morphin. I mean, also are a part of the target audience as well. So I mean, it doesn't have to be like very dark and cutting edge. I mean, I know there were people talking about the Green Ranger movie that's been in consideration. But I don't expect it to be anything like that. I mean, I can understand people, always wanting this movie to be like the next Batman, but come on. I mean, there can only be one Batman movie trilogy, so I mean, Power Rangers is not Batman. All right, it's not like one of those. Well, you know what? I think with the Power Rangers movie, I think this could be this could be a benefit, but it could also be a flop, like the first 2 movies. But I just want, being a Power Ranger fan, I would likely be very optimistic with this idea, and let's just hope that the movie turns out to be a success. But that's if the movie gets made into production and gets a release date. But then again, I mean, it's just too early to tell, but I'm just hypothetically speaking on that. So, yeah, so that's really my thoughts on the Power Rangers movie. And also, I want to discuss about another TV show that's coming out next month. And this is actually a spin-off to a particular TGIF sitcom on ABC that ran for 7 seasons. And with Boy Meets World comes the new show Girl Meets World. So far, I mean, I looked at some of the trailers, and so far it's a pretty. It's pretty much what you expect for your generic Disney Channel sitcom. I mean, you always have these low budget sets. You have these actors coming in. They're singing their own theme songs, and they're going through just life growing up, and a lot of over exaggerated and shows that come off very goofy and very hokey in a way. And because it's produced by It's a Laugh Productions, I just kind of get this really awkward feeling that this show might not be what definitely not a show that might give the respect to the original Boy Meets World. But with Michael Jacobs around, maybe there is some hope. But I mean, knowing their track record of a lot of their sitcoms, they all look very similar to one another. I know people say, "Oh well, weren't the TGIF sitcoms all look the same?" But I mean, with the Miller Boyd Productions, which was like pretty much the precursor to what It's a Laugh Productions was, catering towards the younger audience and just being like this family oriented programs that they produce. Um, so I mean, they did have a lot of heart, with the TGIF sitcoms. They did have a lot of heart. They encourage their characters to do the right thing and really teach them the facts of life. I mean, granted, they came off pretty preachy, but they get the message out there. Um, and with some of the recent shows that Disney's produced, Girl Meets World, I don't want to like get too excited because 9 times out of 10, it just kind of leads to disappointment. But because yeah, so I mean, the tone of the show just kind of screams Disney Channel and just what you expect for their standardized TV shows. Um, so with Girl Meets World, are they gonna really discuss about some of the? Are they gonna get away with discussing some of the social life issues that Boy Meets World had to endure? Like the idea of peer pressure and just basically stuff that you would experience in teenage adolescence. Now, obviously, the show is set in junior high, so eventually, over time, like if Girl Meets World becomes a success, if it runs a lot longer, like going to high school and stuff, will they talk about some of the issues that go on when you're in high school, like the idea of the possibility if the main character meets up with another character that's suffering from like child abuse, or are they gonna talk about drug issues like alcohol and the idea of getting your driver's permit and just riding off the sunset without your parents having to worry about you. I mean, I know they discussed a little bit of that in Boy Meets World, like the episode where Corey and Sean were like drunk, and then they also had like another episode where Corey, Sean, and Topanga were driving to Atlantic City so they could like play some of the pachinko, like some of the machine slots. Yeah, so they kind of touched that a little bit, and apparently Disney Channel actually skipped some of the episodes that deal with some of the like the episode where Corey and Sean get drunk, with the alcohol and stuff. So are they gonna address any of those issues? Because I mean, being Disney Channel, a network catered towards families and the younger audience primarily. Um, I mean, there's just a lot of questions that's just kind of clouding up my mind. Um, and it's just really pretty much what some of the questions I have to really ask myself. But rest assured, I'm kind of glad to see, the parents, Ben Savage, Daniel Fishel, who played Corey and Topanga respectively. So at least rest assured, the show also has not only, the new generation kids for kids to watch, but also, some of the young adults, including myself, that grew up with the original series. And, I'm probably going to watch it primarily for the parents, but also with the guest appearances of, the Mr. Feeneys and the Shawns. Maybe the Erics down the road. I mean, I know they're going to bring back Corey's parents for about an episode or two, so there are like screenshots of them on here. Just basically, type in like some of the images on like a Google or a Yahoo, or even read the news articles, but there are some screenshots of them being on there. So, yeah, so it's definitely going to be very interesting to see, but again, like the Power Rangers movies, like I'm not going to get my hopes up too much, or otherwise it'll just lead me to disappointment. So that's really all my thoughts on Girl Meets World. So just hope for the best. How much are we into? Okay, so about 15 minutes in. Sorry for this hold up. My computer is really acting slow at this moment. So I also want to discuss about I want to discuss about some of the recent TV shows I'll be discussing. Apparently, I actually was getting into some of the superhero shows. With the Green Arrow TV show. It's been around for like 2 seasons now. Time flies because it just felt like it just came out recently, but apparently it's getting renewed for a 3rd season. So before I get started, I'm pretty much a casual fan, so I don't like read comic books because obviously because the Green Arrow is based on the comic books from DC, and I know a lot of fans that watch the show also read the comic books just to kind of give an idea of the story behind the Green Arrow character, Oliver Queen, and basically his life, social life, and his experience as the Green Arrow. So I mean, I can't really expect too much for the show because like I said, I'm a casual fan, so. If there are some things I didn't touch upon, then I apologize. But I tend to watch shows that I'll just sit back, relax, put the edge of my seat if need be. But I mean, the show started off pretty slow from the 1st season. When we get to introduce Oliver and some of the issues that he went through, like just. He was sailing with his girlfriend and his dad, and then eventually there was a sea storm that approached, and then, basically his dad committed suicide, and Oliver's then girlfriend, Sarah, I believe. So apparently, they both got stranded away, and basically there's been a lot of, flashbacks that have been going on through each episode, and as well as how we get to where we are now in terms of the main core of the storyline. So I want to really discuss about season 2 because this is not like an in-depth review as I make it out to be, but so far season 2 it's a very solid season. We're finally getting to see Oliver figure out a strategy to overcome the evil without actually physically killing them in a way, and just bringing them into justice, which was pretty much the center focus, his goal for his goal for season 2. Just to bring some of his criminals into justice and not necessarily killing them. So apparently, Slade, who was like a recurring character from the 1st season, is apparently, the main villain for season 2, and a lot of bad blood, between him and Oliver. They were once friends, and then they just became bitter enemies. So there was. Like I said, I enjoyed it. There are some things that kind of bothered me a bit. Some of the love interests that Oliver's had, like he got back with Sarah since Sarah revealed herself to be the Black Canary, and then they broke up all of a sudden. I didn't even understand how they broke up. They just broke up. It just happened like all at once, and then they're also teasing him and Felicity, who's kind of like the prodigy of the group, her and Diggle. So there's a lot of teasing love relationships going on, which kind of bothers me a little bit. Doesn't bother me as much as like Smallville, with Clark and Lana being shoved down a lot of people's throats, and This is the CW. I mean, they did this a lot, even back when they were the WB. Because when shows like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Dawson's Creek came out, it's really when WB, started to discover their niche, catering towards, the teenage audience and, hiring a lot of these attractive cast members, whether it's, male, female, group ensembles. So, so, and it kind of carries on to, what we now know as the CW. So that legacy, was carried forth from the WB, and it's kind of a tradition that they kind of still do this day, but it does come off pretty cheesy at times. So, but it's very action packed, I will say. For a low budget show, I really enjoyed Michael Jai White on that show for a little bit. I thought some of the fight scenes were pretty good. I'm still against the whole shaky cam stuff, which is still pretty common. I understand it's pretty common with a lot of movies, but since we're talking about TV show, it's just a little bit minor nitpick. But they did emphasize heavily on the fight scenes, which I liked. Let's see. They also had like Summer Glau come in for a little bit, but she kind of got wasted on the show since she didn't appear very often, and then she kind of got killed off pretty easily. So I thought I kind of enjoyed her role in like Firefly, and I thought she did a pretty decent job in the Sarah Connor Chronicles. But so it was a little disappointing since she just kind of came and went, and then her character got killed off just in an instant. So I think a more elaborate fight scene with her and Oliver would have been pretty cool. As far as her character was concerned. But regardless, I pretty much enjoyed it. As well as the actor that played Slade. I thought he did pretty cool as well. Pretty good job at that. Let's see. So apparently, so Oliver doesn't kill Slade, but just places him inside a submarine where nobody could discover him because he's locked. He's held hostage behind bars, and put in the same exact location where Oliver and Slade were stuck in the ocean. So I thought it was a nice touch. I mean, if Oliver had killed Slade, then it would have just gone against everything that he was set out to do in season 2. Bringing in the justice and stuff. So I think it was so at least he didn't go in that route of actually killing him. So so that's really just some brief thoughts on the Green Arrow TV show. Like I said, I'm just a casual fan, so some people might disagree with what I have to say. So if you disagree, that's cool. But I'm not much of a comic book purist, so I don't have like high expectations or anything like that. So just in case you're interested to know. So that's really what I have to say about the Green Arrow TV show. I actually watched Once Upon a Time. I can't really explain much about that since, but I'm kind of glad about the season 3 finale. It was basically like Back to the Future in a way. Where I believe, what was her name? Emma and Hook went back in time, very similar to Back to the Future, and learning, Emma's learning the consequences of, what happens, what you do in the past will deeply affect the future, and she wasn't really thinking critically in that department, and it was a nice, see at the end with the little cameo from, the one of the characters from Frozen. So so I thought it was pretty nice there, but so I apologize, I can't even elaborate a little more about Once Upon a Time, but I've been watching it, but sometimes I have to like DVR it a bunch of times just to kind of understand the flow of the story. So I mean, it's all right, but it's not like top five or anything like that. But it's just a show just to kind of keep me occupied, keep me, kind of stay in touch with some of the current TV shows out there. Um, I realize it's just so oversaturated with a lot of reality shows, but I'm not gonna get into that. So I also watch Once Upon a Time, um, Supernatural. Yeah, so they turned Dean into a demon. Um, so now we're gonna go. Now there's like a possibility of doing Dean versus Sam again. Um, I don't know about that. So I mean, they've been to each other's throats so many times. There's a lot of bromance, even though they are actually biological brothers. But um, we'll just have to wait and see for what's in store for the 10th season. Um, so yeah, I mean, just, so yeah, I also watched Supernatural as well. Haven't really kept it up as much lately. Some of the storylines have been pretty complicated, and it's just wasn't the same when they killed off Bobby, because I actually liked the Bobby character, and it was kind of a shame they kind of killed him off. Um, but life goes on. I mean, I'm not the writer, so I mean, I have no say in it. So um, yeah, so like I said, the storylines have been. I haven't really caught up with Supernatural. I mean, I haven't watched the whole ninth season, but from what I've heard, it's a lot of people say it's a lot disappointing. Um, but hopefully, maybe at some point I rewatch season 9 and maybe get a better idea of just my overall thoughts behind the season. But I'm not sure if I want to like review the whole series. But I mean, it's gonna be a long ride if I were to do that. And yeah, I don't really have the DVDs in order to really watch the show. But then again, I mean, I actually have it on TNT, so yeah, with the DVR and stuff. But still, it's really not the same as that. So yeah, just a couple other shows that I enjoyed watching, even though Supernatural just hasn't really caught my eye as much as like the earlier seasons. Um, so yeah, that's really all I have to say about this TV vlog. Thank you all guys for watching. I hope it was a wild ride. Just try to kind of get out my thoughts as best and clear and detailed as I can. Yeah, stick around. I actually have a TV's Forgotten Gems. I'm gonna kind of restart that. Yeah, yeah, expect a Mega 6LR and the Wayne Head video coming out. Yeah, so this is pretty much it for this TV vlog. Not sure when the next one's gonna be, but if there's any news that I might be interested in discussing with you guys, I'll let you guys know. So like I said, thank you all guys for watching, and until next time, Gold Standard Caesar 924 signing out.